Hello and welcome. It is Thursday. It's Thursday afternoon. You've nearly made it to the weekend, which means it is time for this week's Etch Play Weekly Live Show. I'm Dan, and today I am thankfully joined by the wonderful Tyre. Tyre, how are we doing?
We're doing very well, thanks.
Excellent. So, we may be noticing that we are missing Adam this week. We've decided, as much as we like to consider this is a team effort, we pretty much dump it all on him every week. So we said, let us help you out and let's have a go. So, we'll apologise now for any technical mishaps that are inevitable, but let's just look forward to them as they happen. So, shall we get on with some games industry news?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's see if I can first of all get us to show some games industry news relevant things. So please bear with me while I press these buttons that Adam's really effective at pressing and I'm learning I'm not. That's what we got. First up, EA announces more Star Wars games, and all being well, which it isn't. There we go. We can see some Star Wars. Look at this. I know what I'm doing, really. So yes, Electronic Arts are committing to the Star Wars franchise despite the end of its exclusivity deal, as the publisher announced 3 new Star Wars games in the works at Respawn, the excellent developers behind the Titanfall franchise, Apex Legends, and their most recent Star Wars game, Fallen Order. Supposedly they are working on a follow-up to Fallen Order, a new first-person shooter, and finally a strategy game that will be developed mainly by BitReactor, which Respawn will produce. EA signed its Star Wars exclusivity deal with Lucasfilm parent Disney in 2013, telling investors the partnership would last for at least a decade, and the exclusive part of that relationship was known to be ending a year ago when Ubisoft announced its own open-world Star Wars game in development. Since then, Zynga and Quantic Dream have also announced upcoming Star Wars projects for consoles. Tyre, have you played many Star Wars games?
I've played a couple, mostly kind of the old school Knights of the Old Republic era, which are big favourites of mine. So I'm looking forward to the remake, that's for sure. But do you know what? For me, the more Star Wars games, the better. And EA has some of the best ones, so it's good to see that they'll still be kind of giving us all the favourite universe that we love.
Yes, absolutely, I completely agree. And Fallen Order was a great game, and I'm a big fan of Respawn as well. From the Titanfall days, I've taken an interest. I didn't get too much time with Apex Legends, but the single player Star Wars Fallen Order was great, so it was good to see a return for that one. Moving on, Sony expects Activision games to stay multi-platform. So Sony has issued its first statement following Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, saying that it expects the games to remain non-exclusive. A Sony spokesperson said, "We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform." Activision also confirmed it will not be removing any games from other platforms as a result of the deal, stating they will honour all existing commitments post-close. What we don't know is how long the commitments are in place for and what will happen next. We do know at least 3 more COD games will come to PlayStation, and Phil Spencer has also stated that Microsoft intends to honour all of Activision's current deals. He had good calls this week with leaners at Sony. "I confirmed our intent to honour all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship." Microsoft had previously honoured planned multi-platform launches after the ZeniMax acquisition, including PS5 console exclusive Deathloop, so no reason to think why this will be any different. And Microsoft have been very outspoken about the kind of we want to be everywhere on all platforms, and this is obviously a good opportunity for that. What do you think, Tyre? Do you foresee maybe a bit further in the future any more sort of exclusivity battles, or do you think they're going to stay true to that in the long term as well?
It's hard to say really, because as you say, they have honoured kind of pre-agreed things, but what I do kind of feel is that their framing of this is very careful at the moment. Even Phil Spencer's kind of messaging is very like, hey, we intend to do these things and we desire to keep it all together, but I think that's probably just a legal thing where they can't say yes or no, so they're trying to be very careful. So who knows? Who knows?
Absolutely, yeah. We will. I guess we will wait and see. And I did just realise I didn't update the B-roll, so there's my first little mistake. But we'll carry on. So yes, what else have we got? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson starring in another video game movie. So everybody's favourite Man Mountain, The Rock. He has told Men's Journal that he will be starring in another video game movie based on one of the most badass games he's been playing for years. We say another, as Johnson has already starred in Doom, the 9th edition, and Rampage from 2018, and we've got some footage of that going on in the background. And no stranger to video games themselves, having recently featured in Fortnite. I can't tell you which game in particular we're doing, but there will be an announcement this year. We're going to bring one of the biggest, most badass games to the screen, one that I've played for years. I'm really excited to bring it to fans around the world. Started a lot of speculation on Twitter, and as you might imagine, an awful lot of memes. Very memeable character, The Rock. Have you got favourite Dwayne The Rock Johnson meme?
Gosh, that's
I thought I'd throw an
question.
Adam caliber question that you weren't expecting at you.
Gosh, that's one I'll have to think about. I like the one where he's looking away and then he looks at the camera and he does the eyebrow wiggle. I don't know if that's that's probably my favourite.
Classic The Rock eyebrow waggle. We've got some suggestions from the chat, and hello to everybody in the chat. We've got Gam Egg and Chips, we've got Arnite, the Loiner, Ben, how are we doing? Tony is there, Pete is there. Thank you all for joining us. So we've got Rocket League the movie. Do you think? Can you imagine that? What would Dwayne's role be in Rocket League the movie?
Would he be one of the Cars? I mean, we do have precedent with Cars the movie.
He could be the ball, just a big rock face that you. The Rock at League, very good, Gam. Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Or Ben suggesting Wii Sports the movie. Coming out from left field there, but absolutely. So there we go. That's the news headlines. We do like to offer up a Games for Good story each week, and we have one this week as well because games are good and they do good things. And the Wordle that we played on the show a couple of weeks ago, the phenomenon that has swept the internet and is consuming a few minutes of many people's day at the moment. It was actually not an original named game, and on iOS there was already a game called Wordle, and the developer, a guy called Stephen Cravotta, sort of suddenly noticed this spike in popularity, and 5 years ago he created an app called Wordle. And it's nothing to do with the Wordle that came out today. He built it when he was 18. It didn't perform as he'd hoped, so he put it down, stopped working on it, and moved on with his life. Fast forward to today, and the app has seen over 200,000 more downloads, and it wasn't slowing down. As confused fans have downloaded the app, mistaking it for the game everyone's been talking about. This has seen Stephen start to generate cash from the mistake, so being obviously an amazing human being that he is, he reached out to the new Wordle creator, Josh Wardle, offering to donate the money to a charity. And between them, they landed on West Oakland's Youth Literacy Program Boost as the recipient of the donation, and they're very excited to support such an amazing program. We feel the money will make a real impact here, so that's a really nice little story, nice little collaboration, a little windfall, and as he felt, obviously this is not a result of his own doing, he wanted to do something good with it. So well done, Stephen and Josh.
Amazing work.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that's today's news. Apparently Pete took 30 minutes for Wordle. Have you done today's, Tyre?
Do you know what? I haven't done the last few.
Oh, you've kicked the habit, have you?
I've kicked the habit. I definitely need to get back on there because I need to keep up with Ben and Adam and the rest of the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I struggled today, I must admit. But I find it's a good. I get up in the morning and I find it's a good way to wait. Rather than doom scrolling the news that's happened overnight, I just ease into the day with a bit of Wordle.
That's a good plan. Yeah.
Right, shall we have a look at a game?
Yes.
And I'm going to let you introduce it, and I'm going to be playing it. So what are we going to take a look at?
So we're going to take a look at the lovely Dorfromantik today, which is a lovely little chill game that I believe is still in early access, and it has been for quite a while, but it came into early access last year, and it's had a lot of popularity. People just really love it, and it's very simple, it's very chill.
Are you still there?
I am still there.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, there we go.
There we go. So the premise of the game is very simple. You're trying to lay out a city, like in a typical city builder, but it's a little bit cuter, it's a little bit nicer, and you're basically trying to get the highest score you can, which you do by matching the hexagon's sides against sides that are similar to them. So for example, if you have a forest on one of your hexagon sides, you'll get more points if that side touches another forest rather than a field or a housing settlement or any of that kind of thing. And the fun part of Dorfromantik is that you also get little quests. So sometimes you'll get a tile that says, hey, I want to be joined to 4 more tiles like myself, and you'll get special points for that. So you can see here Dan's got a tile with 3 fields on it right now, and the tile is telling him, hey, I want to have 3 more fields touching me at some point. Same with the forest. So the forest wants 5 more trees to keep it kind of happy. And the great thing with this game is you do just kind of lose time, and it's interesting and it's strategic without being too kind of difficult or too stressful. Sometimes I'll just fire this up over lunch if I want to give my brain a break and give myself something to kind of chill myself out. So really recommend people go to play it. It's not free, Pete, but it's not very expensive either. It's still early access, quite a small little game. But I've been really impressed with the developers' updates. There've been lots of really cool updates, like the creative mode, which is one of my favorites. So if you do get to the point where your city unfortunately runs out of tiles and you haven't got any more to go, instead of just kind of losing the game, you can switch it over to the creative mode. So you can just keep playing and not worry about making points anymore. You can just make a nice little city. So yeah, we're looking good so far. We've got a nice railway
how am I
going.
doing?
You're not doing too bad. You've got some good quests that you've done. I think you're going to struggle with that river because the way that you've set it up to go into another tile means you have to wait until you get a river tile that curves away from the fields.
Yeah, I've kind of barricaded it in a bit too much.
Yeah, a little bit. The thing with both rivers and railways is that they always have to be touching another water source or another railway source, unless you get the water tower, which is a very special tile that can sometimes save you if you have no more things that a railway or a river could go into. So watch out for that, because I think that can get you much further. So yeah, you're getting your fields in there, which is great. You're going to get another few points from that railway.
This one's 99 trees against it. That's quite a forest it's encouraging us towards.
Yeah, so it really wants a big forest there. And there's quite a few trees coming up soon, so I think that might be the answer.
Right, there's our little way out with the river.
Yep, there we go. So now we can curve that away.
It is very chill.
It is very chill. The music
not,
is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well?
Certainly not feeling too stressed over here.
Definitely don't read the chat then.
Oh no! And people are not appreciating my city building skills. I mean, I'm not happy with this kind of field. Is this like wheat fields or something?
They are. I think at some point you will get like flower fields, which look quite nice. So they'll kind of go purple. But it's always I find for me, it's always a balance between what the game wants me to do and how nice it's going to look.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes it's like I might give up a few points if I know that I can make my railway go further or something like that.
It's got a very Settlers of Catan vibe, the board game.
Yes.
That's very nice. And do you know how long this has been out? Or in early access?
So it came out last year. Let me just check. I probably should have done that. I can check on my Steam actually, because I've got it. But it's been out for a while. It's had a lot of success so far. People just really love it.
I'm not reading the chat. That is correct, Pete. So the chat aren't impressed. And we picked the most low stress game possible to help me with my streaming ineptitude, but seemingly I've failed at that as well. Experimental Space, thank you for joining us and your kind contributions.
So the early access has been around for nearly a year now. So it came out kind of at the end of March. And at the moment on Steam, it's got over 12,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. So very well loved game. Oh, people are not loving your train tracks.
I mean, I understand where they're coming from.
You just killed a quest, Dan.
There we go. Look at this.
Ooh,
locomotive.
You unlocked the train.
That's what we want. Get that locomotive running. Do I get to see him go around my train track?
Yeah, so the next time you get a train track, you might see a train on it, and then that will start moving around. I guess if you're lucky.
It would have liked me to have joined it up so it could maybe go something like that. Can't have everything.
No, you can't have everything, sadly. But yeah, as well as the kind of creative mode, they've also had lots of different kind of quality of life features, special tiles, new kind of game modes and things like that. So things that they're looking at introducing are also things like community challenges in the game, so that you can actually go and do some really fun stuff with it, and kind of content in terms of the tiles themselves. So at the moment, they recently had like a winter update. So at the moment, what you're seeing is kind of the summer biome, I guess. But there are other biomes.
Here's the train.
There's the train.
There he goes.
And the train has something next to it as well. That's just a little rock. Sometimes you get animals to like run around. I think that's just
okay.
rock.
Nice. Bringing my little world to life. You there, going through the isolated wheat fields.
And that's
I call this Playville that we're having a look at here.
There we go. One thing that I love about this game, and why I love watching people play it, is that because it's so simple and because it's so creative, you do start like telling your own little stories about the map that you're building. Because you start thinking like, okay, well, I want to build my railway next to the city because that will let my little people like get to the next city that I'm going to build, and kind of play around with it that way, which is it's a lot of fun and very, very relaxing. And the more you unlock things, the more you get kind of variation, the more it comes to life. I recently unlocked a tile type that lets my rivers have like beaver dams on it. So sometimes at the moment, like the rivers might look a little bit kind of empty, but once you start unlocking them, you get like little deer. You've unlocked the water tower.
The water train station.
That will change your life.
Wow, I'm excited.
So the water train station can have any river or water going into it, or any rail, and both. So if you have lots of things running up together, so for example, you could put it where you have these two railways that have nowhere else to go.
Right here.
There, for example. And then if you wanted to, you could have that other railway bit that has a gap then feed into the water tower, and you kind of save yourself some space there. It's my favorite tile. It just fixes holes.
Fixes messes that you may have made that the chat doesn't appreciate. Oh, look at that. What a satisfying piece that is there.
Yep.
That's what
there we go. Look, now that whole section looks like it's been planned out.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
It's as if it grew there. You people in the chat don't know what you're talking about. I didn't get my MA in city building for nothing. So yeah, very nice. And do you know what the team size that have built this? Is it just a lone indie? Is it a big team?
I think it's a very small. I believe this was a student project.
Oh wow!
So I think
very
this
cool.
started as like a master's project or like a bachelor's project. Let's have a look at their website. I should know more of this because I've played so many hours of this, but
you just got straight into the city building.
No, I'm just like, yeah, this is all about what I want to hear about.
It was very satisfying.
They've got a very good early access roadmap. That's one thing I will say. And
cool.
I know we discussed early access a little bit last week when we were playing Anacrusis. And one thing that we'd always recommend the game in early access to have is, first of all, to have a roadmap because that will help your development, but being as communicative and as flexible as possible as you can with your community. Because one thing in early access, things change, you might not stick to it. Having something visual to show people so that they can get excited about upcoming features can be really, really beneficial. And they have a really nice one that's like really clear, uses some really nice colors, which is great. I can't seem to find any information about Tucana themselves. Yeah, I need to go.
A windmill coming up.
Oh, the windmills are lovely. The windmills usually come with a field as well. So they quite like to be. So
a little windmill spinning around there. So we've got a southwesterly wind today.
See, there you go. Sometimes the quests don't match up each other, so that house wants 5 exactly. Five more. Whereas this one with a little wedge on it wants 18 exactly, and that other city that you're trying to build it to has too many for it.
Right, I see. That's why I've been messing up. I've been paying attention. Which is no surprise to anybody. So, Ty, you prepared to admit how many hours you've sunk into this so far?
I think I've got about 10. Not like loads and loads.
Respectable.
But I normally play like in 15-minute bursts. So
it's very, very pick up and play.
It is. It saves your progress. It's not the kind of game where like I'll be very upset if I lose like my map, because it's not about really, for me at least, it's not about getting to the end or getting the score. It's about just having a nice time. And this game is just perfect for it. You can just pick it up, play it, go into creative mode if you don't feel like doing the quests and things like that, and just kind of paint with the tiles, which is really exciting. But yeah, I know a lot of people that have, on my Steam, that have hundreds of hours in this game.
Very nice.
Which is a lot of hours, and I, if they've got that time, then I feel very glad for them.
Very cool. Well, I think what we can do, we've got a little bit of a discussion planned, and oh no, I can't do it. So okay, let's get back to this game. Is there much worth digging into? Do you think we should move on and have a quick chat about websites?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a nice chill game, nice one to highlight. And as Gam says in chat, sounds like they do need a website. They do have a website, and it is quite nice. It's nice and simple.
Nice.
And that is a nice segue into our discussion piece.
Excellent. Well done. Seamless transition. Just like the transition I'm going to try and do back to our faces, which I failed at. There we go. We just lost the infinite. See if we can fix this quickly.
Do a little dance.
Keep the audience occupied. I'm guessing Adam isn't watching because he'd be.
I hope he isn't.
But this is what we said. You don't need to worry, Adam, because we've got this. And
got this.
Evidently, that is exactly what we do have. There we go. There's a little bit of a. Here we go. We're back. So yeah, I wanted to. I guess we always try and challenge ourselves and talk about new things, new concepts. But actually, a large kind of part of what we do is video game websites. And I thought, why don't we take this opportunity and just share a bit of our knowledge and things that maybe we deal with day in, day out that might be useful to people at home thinking about their studios and their roles in the industry. So yeah, I thought we'll have a little share of some snippets of insights on the world of video game websites. And it's got a few little tips, and I'm going to throw some curveballs at Tyre. Tyre's been on the team for almost 3 months. She had some background and experience with sort of managing web builds, but not an extensive amount. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, very fair to say.
But she's hit the ground running, learned a lot from our super knowledgeable team at Etch Play, and so yeah, we're going to have a little chat about that. So first of all, something that I think is so easily overlooked, and everybody knows the internet, everybody knows what a website is. But when you're making one for yourself or for your studio or for your game, it's very easy to just get into the mindset of, I know what a website is, we're going to build a website, but not actually think too much about what the priority outcome of this website is to facilitate. So you get focused more on, what does it look like, what's the layout, what's the design, what pages do we have, and you're just focusing on what we call outputs, but not the outcome. So my top tip would be to really think about what is our priority outcome, what is it we want this to do. So if it's a game website, what stage are we at in our release cycle? Are we just at the announce phase, and what we're trying to do is excite and inform? Have we got our game already out and we need to facilitate purchasing? Are we on multiple platforms and we need to signpost the relevant platform? Or are we perhaps more of a service game or a long life game, and we're here to facilitate the ongoing engagement? Each of those different stages have a very different role for your web presence. So really think about that and be quite... it's very easy to try and cater for everything and everyone, but what you end up doing is spreading it too thin and trying to give everything priority, and you end up with no focus. So that'd be my first tip. What is your priority outcome, and how can you get behind that? And at its simplest, a primary call to action. So a big bold button that is going to say, sign up to the mailing list, or join the Discord, or follow us on social media, or go to Steam and buy the game. That's what you want to have as your sort of main point of focus. And any comments on that as a bit of advice? Would you agree? Any other counterpoints?
No, for sure. I think that's really important. And to be honest, I think that's good advice for any sector. Anyone with a website, it's not... A lot of people, what I see is sometimes it's almost like a checklist item for them. It's like, hey, we have a business, let's put a website, and it kind of gets forgotten. But I think what I'd like to add to that is, it can be a really important and really powerful tool as part of your communication strategy, as part of your marketing strategy, but also as part of your business strategy. There's a lot of insights that you can gain for not just, how people see your game, how people see your studio, but helping you make decisions for the business, thinking about what people are excited about, where to put money into, and things like that. It can be a really powerful piece, and especially for things like, we talk a lot about recruitment. Your website is going to be one of the key arrows, I guess, in your quiver for that kind of thing. But no matter what it is, having a think about your purpose and really, using your website to its utmost ability, I think that will make your job easier and it will help you in the future.
Absolutely, and you touched on there, kind of, if you're thinking in the context of recruitment. Kind of the next point that I wanted to say is really think about who the audience is. And it's very easy, and the default position is, well, this is what we want people to know, and this is what we want to say, and what we want to present. But actually, you need to think, well, what is it the user? Who is the user? What do they want out of this? And actually look at your proposition through their eyes. So if it's the context of a game studio, for example, and undoubtedly the way things are at the moment, certainly in our experience, one of your priorities is going to be video game recruitment. We need to get talent on board. So what is it they're going to be looking for? Yes, you're going to want to say, we're hiring and we've got these jobs, but that's very important to surface. But you also got to think, what questions are they going to ask themselves? Who am I going to be working with? What am I going to learn? What's the environment like? So really put yourself in the audience's shoes, define who that audience is, who you want to speak to, and really cater for that audience. And again, it's difficult because you may be like, well, we want to speak to potential recruitment candidates, we want to speak to potential publishers or finance partners, or we want to look good to our consumer audience. But you've got to make these difficult decisions. You've got to choose your priorities, and definitely put yourself in the shoes of that chosen audience.
One thing I learned.
Carry on.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, one thing I learned back when I started in marketing is a saying that I always take with me, and it's like, if you're talking to everyone, then you're not talking to anyone. And it's that kind of thing where, if you're trying to make everything appeal to everyone, you're not saying anything. It's not going to work for any one of those audiences because they're not going to feel like the content is for them. It's not going to be relevant. It's not going to be targeted. So it is really important, as Dan said in the first place, to really understand what your priorities are, because that will help you lead and understand who those audiences might be.
Yeah, very much got an analogy where we say, like, if I were to throw you a tennis ball, there's a pretty good chance that you'll catch it. If I were to throw you 2, a little bit less chance. If I'm to throw 10 at you, you're probably going to be cowering and running away from that opportunity. So yeah, definitely, you really have to put in the work there. And we touched there on, we talked about video game websites, we talked about game studio websites. It's really worth putting the thought into what is it that we're trying to create. And very often, and it does work in the early stages, but one of the early decisions you're going to need to make is this a studio site or is this an IP consumer facing site? Because thinking about those priorities and those audiences, they like to be very different. When you're trying to promote a game and provide information about a game and encourage sales, that is a very consumer focused audience, and they have very different expectations and needs versus the game studio, where you're going to be concerned with hiring and funding and sort of positioning the studio in your industry. So trying to lump that all into one, it does very quickly become sort of a conflict of interest. But as I say, in the very early days, the fame of your game and the fame of the studio, if you're an indie or if this is your first game, you almost don't want to water down that audience too much. But when it comes to your second release, or if you branch out into a new IP, or you're on a recruitment drive, that's when you want to start thinking about separating those two audiences out. Another point in this kind of web journey, because to be fair, like, websites, whilst they are a very critical sort of presentation for your game or your game studio, it's not where the conversation happens. It's not where the audiences are. They're going to start in this day and age on social or in communities. So you want to consider what we call the landing experience. I mean, if you think, sort of, Ty, when was the last time, or how often in any one day do you actually type in a game studio's website? It's probably very little compared to you see something interesting happening on Twitter and you're like, oh, there's a new trailer, I'll go and look at that trailer. Or, oh, they've announced that they're recruiting, I'll go and have a look at that. Your entry point to the site isn't www.gamestudio.com. It's typically you're clicking a link that you've seen in the wild. So you want to think about that experience, and maybe they've announced a trailer, but you want to think, okay, well, they've seen the trailer, which is obviously our primary purpose for this entry point. But what are they going to do next? If you don't think about their next step, you're going to get a bounce. What we call a bounce, and that's how we talk about bounce rates. Is they'll go, oh, okay, that was a cool trailer, I'm done now. Whereas if you consider what the next step might be, do you want to pre-order? Do you want to sign up to the newsletter? Do you want to join the Discord? You can think about that rather than just putting all of your focus and attention on the homepage. My final point is, whilst, as I say, kind of a lot of the conversation doesn't happen on the website these days, it's happening on social and it's happening in the ecosystem and in communities. You do want to consider where people will go for the authoritative piece of information. So there's a lot, we love a bit of goss, and the media loves a bit of hype around something or a bit of controversy. What a lot of people are going to do is go, okay, this is interesting, and a lot of people will just take it at face value, what the headline says. We know that, we've got to contend with that. But a lot of people will go, oh, who is this that we're talking about? Or let me have a look at what they're up to. And people will go to your website for the official word on a subject. So if you are planning any campaign or any PR announcements or anything like that, you want to make sure that they don't just get to see this information out in the ether, and then quite often people don't bother to keep their sites up to date. And when people go and look for sort of validation of that news or what they've heard about, really think about your communication strategy and your roadmap and comms plan, and make sure that your website is going to stay up to date and match that. Tyre, any other thoughts in your kind of your journey that you've had with us? You've been involved in a bunch of websites already. Any other thoughts that you've gleaned?
I guess the only other thing I'll probably want to add is the importance of tracking and the importance of getting information. Because as good as it is to have a purpose and to have a set audience and to know exactly what you're trying to do, if you're not tracking those touch points, if you're not tracking those variables, if you're not actually seeing what people are doing on the website, then you don't know if you're achieving your goals, if you're achieving your purpose. You don't know if your messaging is helping you sell games, or it's getting people to apply to your jobs, etc. So it's really, really important to think from the very outset is, hey, this is what we want to do with the website. This is how it's going to function. And also think about how are we going to measure it? What are those metrics going to be? How are we going to be able to improve and iterate? Because, a website, like all marketing, isn't a stationary thing. It will always be moving with the flow of the industry, the flow of your studio. There'll be rebrands, there'll be updates, there'll be announcements, etc. And all of those things deserve to be kind of, I guess, studied, and so that next time you do a similar thing can be better. So that's, I think, my thing is to really understand how your website is functioning. You need to know what people are doing on it, and we use various tools. Things like Google Analytics is great at that, Google Tag Manager, but you can also use the CMS that your website is built within, or you can sometimes have these really fancy systems that someone can code for you that will be able to tell you that information. That is also something that we do, and it can.
That's a really good point, and the data and insights that you can get from a site can actually really help with even as much as kind of a bit of a feedback loop for your game development as well. We've had activities in the past where we may have been like, okay, we're not sure what's the killer feature. Is it exploration or is it multiplayer? Well, actually what we can do is we can present that information to your audience through the website very easily, very quickly, and we can measure the engagement. And that might be like, okay, well, actually, we found 80% of people are more interested in exploration than they are multiplayer. And actually, there's a lot more roadmap that we've got to go down that route. And if that's what people want, maybe we can give that to them. Rather than having to go full-blown development, release, and then learn that, you can actually get these kinds of insights with a bit of forethought and, like you say, appropriate reporting and analytics.
I love
Very
A/B tests.
wise. Yes, a bit of A/B testing. What's our audience's favourite colour? We can tell you.
Yep.
Right. Okay. We've waffled on. It's the end of the show. Thank you, Tyre. Really appreciate you joining me and guiding me through my little world building escapade there.
You're very welcome.
And please do, if you haven't already, hit the follow button if you're watching on Twitch Live, the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. We are Etch Play on Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn, all of your favourite platforms. We're probably saying something either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid, but it'll be entertaining nonetheless. So please join us next week and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Didn't set up there.
How well are you going to be able to close it out?
Let's see. So far, really, really well. That was pretty flawless, I thought. What do you reckon?
I thought it was good. It was better than I would have done it.
I'm sure Adam will let us know.
That was fun.